Okay, this is just a quick video to walk through the installation process for SQL Server Express. Uh, so this course appears to be built around either SQL Server 2008 or 2008 R2. I'm going to just work with R2 just because it's pretty much the latest of it. It appears as though the homework is focused on both versions, and if you're working on R2, you'll do this versus this, and you'll see that when you continue on with the lab assignments throughout the course. So this is I'm going to download the SQL Server 2008 R2 here. I will provide the link in the course announcement, so I'll copy and paste this inside the course announcement. You'll have that available there. So when you're going to go download, there's different flavors of SQL Server 2008 R2. So here, anything that's x86 is going to be 32-bit. Anything that's 64 is going to be 64-bit. So most of you, I'm sure, will probably be choosing the 64-bit. In my case, I'm actually have a virtual machine running. So I have Windows 8 on my actual laptop, but I've created a virtual machine to run it because I have SQL Server already installed on my laptop, a 2012 version that I don't want to conflict with this. So, but for your sake, you really just have to go open up your internet and go and download SQL Server Express 2008 R2. Now, again, back to the flavors. You'll probably want the 64-bit. So this is just these two are just SQL Server Express only. Um, when you get here, this is SQL Server Express Advanced Tools. That's the one we want to get. Now, this one here is SQL Server Express with tools. Means it comes with the SQL Server Management Studio. Essentially, it's the interface that we use when we want to make queries out of the database. And then this is SQL Server Management Studio by itself. So this would not be the SQL Server database. It's just the Management Studio if you were going to connect to, say, a remote database. So for this class, we are going to work with the SQL Server Advanced Tools. So if you're 32-bit, you're going to do this one. If you're 64-bit, you're going to do this one. Now, I've already downloaded this, so I already have it downloaded. It's the Advanced Tools. So the Advanced Tools is going to be the SQL Server Database. It's going to be the SQL Server Management Studio, and I believe it might incorporate some elements of reporting, and that's why we are pulling down the advanced part, because we might have to do some of that for the labs. So I have it downloaded already here. I'm going to run it and run through the install process so that you can follow along in case you have any questions in terms of the options and selections to install it with. So I'm going to run the executable here. As you can see, it's a gig, the whole file, so it is quite large. It's going to extract the files here, and eventually we'll run through the install wizard itself. Okay, so we're going to install .NET Framework. That's fine. If it does ask you that, it may or may not, depending if it's installed already. So I will let that go on just fine there. And this should be proceeding. Okay, so now I come up with the wizard for installing SQL Server. I'm going to do a new installation. And I'm going to accept this terms, click next. moving along here. Okay, so everything looks good here. So we're going to leave the default settings that we have here. Obviously, we want the management tools. We'll leave the rest of the stuff. That's just fine. We do want the full text search. That's part of the advanced options that we selected, as well as the database engine, which is what we'll be working with. The rest of it is all good to go. We will leave the default settings as far as where the database gets placed, unless you have a comfortable preference to choose otherwise. Otherwise, we'll just leave the defaults. And I'm going to leave the default named instance of SQL Express on this for now. That's fine for right now. And again, we should be all set here. Typically, you would want to set a password on the database that engine is for all of it that it has here of the service that starts it. But we'll just do the network service. We'll use the same account for all SQL services. That's fine. We'll just do the network service. That's fine. This should be good here. All right, so here we would do how you access the SQL Server. We'll leave it on Windows authentication mode since we'll only be working locally. In the real world, you might want to put mixed mode to have the ability to remotely get into SQL Server without having Windows authenticate you. So you would actually place a password on the system administrator account that you have right there. But we'll just leave it on Windows authentication mode since we're just going to be doing it for lab purposes right now. And the default here is fine. Click next and continue. And now it's installing the features, and I'll be right back as soon as it's done. Okay, looks like I'm all set. The install probably took, on this virtual machine that I'm on, it took, I'm going to say maybe 10 minutes, something like that. So it wasn't overly quick. It took a little bit. All right, so I'm going to hit close here. All right, so I have SQL Server installed. If I want to access it, I would go through, I should go through the SQL Server Management Studio, which I can just type in SQL Server. There's Management Studio. Of course, I could also go through Programs, SQL Server 2008, and the Management Studio here. And you probably want to just create a shortcut to your desktop if one wasn't done already. I don't think one has been done here. It's not. So I can do one myself and just do send to desktop. So I have my shortcut there. So now I'm going to connect to it. This is my actual server name that I'm working off of. This could be your PC name, whatever it is. And then that's the database instance that I would connect to. So this is just the database that it comes with. Here's whatever tables that are here. It's just all really just nothing going on with it. But this is the database that we have. So very simple. If I was to run a query, so for example, I see a query called batch, I'm going to hit new query button, and I could just select star from batch and hit F5, or you hit the play button, and that will generate the results of it. Oh, sorry, I did not select the right database. I want to select from the SQL Express. I did it from the master. So I'm going to do it from there. Now I can hit F5. and it's going to give me the results. It's empty, there's nothing going on with it anyways, but that's just a basic select query. So we have SQL Server installed, everything's good. What do we need to do next? Well, the next thing that we need to do is we need to get the AdventureWorks database installed on here as well. And to do that, this is the second part to get you ready to work on your labs. If you go to your Lessons tab and you go to Getting Started and go to Configuring SQL Server 2008, there's a PDF here that is opened up right here. This walks you through some of the instructions of getting it working. So again, at this point, SQL Server should be installed, and this walks you through, again, it references making sure you have advanced services installed. Now we have to install AdventureWorks, and we're just going to work with the AdventureWorks 2008. It should be fine. I think that the course content is just a little bit older, but I think it should be fine. And this walks you through setting services. So it says, before you install this database, you must verify full text service capability has been enabled. So I'm going to take a look at it real quick. So I'm going to open up my services, and that's going to be here. And let's look and see what I have to make sure that that is, let me confirm what that says. Startup, automatic, make sure it's set to automatic and OK. So let's expand that. SQL Server full text. It is not set to automatic, so I will set it. I will apply it, and I'm good. The service is already started, but we're just going to do that real quick there. So that part's done. Now I'm going to go down here and get a copy of the sample database. So here's a link right here that leads us to it. Based on this, it says to download the AdventureWorks family of databases. Now it doesn't line up exactly with the way that it looks, but it's close enough. So we're going to download the AdventureWorks family of sample databases. Let's just do the 2008. I know it works fine. Download the AdventureWorks 2008 family of sample databases. So I'm going to click on that. That brings me here. That will bring you to this. You'll download this SR4. So again, it doesn't line up exactly as the content was developed, and things change. So this happens to be SR1. We're going to download SR4. It's just probably a newer version of it. It's about 80 meg. I do have that all set up and downloaded already. It also advises you to read the instructions. It says, I recommend before you click the download link, you click the installing database link for instructions. Let's see if that's actually here. Database installer help, installing databases step by step. So again, I'm following this along at the same time as everyone else is. This is running through the process of installing it. It looks pretty straightforward. Looks like we're having everything looks good there. I don't see anything that is going to trip us up here. So I already have it downloaded, and this is the AdventureWorks SR4. Looks similar to the picture that was there. We will let this unpack. I'll close the services box since I know we don't need that for now. Okay, I'm going to close my SQL Server Management Studio. I don't need to save this right now. That was just a quick demonstration. I'm going to accept the license here, click Next. Again, this looks similar to the screenshots that we saw there. I'm just going to set it up and do install. And again, there's different versions of this here. For example, we have the data warehouse. I think that's, I can't remember what LT is. And this is online transactional processing. So there's just different versions of the the AdventureWorks database that's going to be installed here. Okay, the install is complete. I'm going to click Finish. The instructions go on here down below saying that once it's downloaded and saved, double-click to install the process. Follow instructions to install. When installation is complete, you must attach the SQL Server 2008 Express. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up that SQL Server Management Studio that I created a desktop icon for already. We're going to open that up, and we're going to connect. And we'll go to Databases. Now the AdventureWorks is here. It's acting as though we need to attach them, but it looks to me as though they're already there on my end. It looks good to me. If I were to do a query, and I'm going to do person.address. I'm going to just do a select on that. Select star from person.address. And select it from the right one. I get results. So everything's working. I don't think we need to go through that process of attaching it. So I don't know that that actually applies here. Again, you can see that this document was made a while ago. We're just trying to take the parts that apply to us and then ignore the ones that don't. So it doesn't appear as though we are required to attach the database to SQL Server, that it automatically does it, which might be an advancement above and beyond what existed when this was actually created. So it looks to me, from my point of view here, that everything is working and functioning. We are attached to the AdventureWorks database, and it looks good from here. So that should do it. Once you have this done, you should be able to begin started with the assignment for this week for the lab, and we'll talk more about that in the live lecture as well. Thanks. Bye.